The word coupe is French and it means cut off. But car designers clearly have to put in a bit more thought when it comes to turning their limousines into these special models. For years, Audi had no competition for BMW's 3 Series Coupe, but now they've come up with the A5, the game is on. Appearances are a matter of taste, so the crucial question is which car delivers more on the road? The rear-wheel drive of the BMW or the Audi's all-wheel drive? First, let's start this head-to-head with a look at the bare facts. The BMW's engine generates 231 horsepower and it can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.6 seconds. As for the A5, it has 239 horsepower under the hood, and those 8 extra units help speed it to 100 kilometers an hour in just 5.9 seconds.
Please do not follow.
The Audi's cockpit layout is uncluttered, the gear stick is chunky and the overall finishing is pleasant. One major drawback is the lack of headroom in the rear seats. Another disadvantage are the fixed windows for the rear passenger section. The BMW 330d impresses with its clearly laid out interior and quality finishing. It has plenty of room for the driver, but makes it hard for anyone wanting to get into the back seats. The Audi seemed roomier overall. The A5 wins you over with its secure handling. Gear changes are precise and dynamic. With its all-wheel drive, you can confidently take the A5 into corners at speed, even without ESP. The BMW's rear-wheel drive is frisky as a young colt, and while it corners smoothly, there is a tendency to oversteer at times. The suspension is also a little stiff. The BMW scores higher on the green scale, using 6.1 litres of diesel per 100 kilometres, with 160 grams of CO2 emissions. Audi uses 6.6 litres and emits 12 grams of CO2 more. The BMW is also €2,000 cheaper than the Audi, but then it doesn't have four-wheel drive, which would cost an extra €2,600. That swings our decision in favour of the Audi A5, which has Quattro technology in the standard configuration. We're at the Nürburgring, in the German state of Rhineland-Pfalz. For now, it's all quiet at Germany's most famous racetrack. The sound of roaring engines is nowhere to be heard. And then, the old-timer Grand Prix rolls in. These cars aren't as fresh as they used to be, and all-terrain tyres are the norm, but the old-timer Grand Prix is just as serious as any other race meet that takes place here at the Nürburgring. This competition is taking place for the 36th time. Classic car lovers are here in droves.
I've been coming here since, I guess, 1989. So I've been racing here for nearly 20 years, every year.
It's quite amazing. It's big and everything is here. All kind of cars and all kind of people.
It's fantastic every year. The variety of old cars makes it special, he says.
Well, I mean, it's first of all, I think it's the biggest gathering of classic cars in Europe, I think. But maybe not England, but in England we have really big meetings. But I mean, it's a great meeting. It's a traditional meeting. It's a very traditional track.
Perhaps it is this mix that makes the old-timer Grand Prix at Nürburgring such an attraction for fans and drivers alike. The competitors often have a big job to get their cars up to scratch for the race. But these historic cars aren't just here to be admired, they're here to race. Over 20 races take place during the 3-day event. The Grand Prix course is used for the competition. This is where Formula One drivers normally battle it out to be world champion. Things are pretty competitive here too. The drivers take no prisoners. Although valuable classic cars are on the starting grid here, it's still motor racing. But the old-timers don't get pushed too hard. The races don't last long, normally between 20 and 30 minutes. Behind the wheels are some former top drivers. One example is former World Rally champ Stig Blomqvist. He recalls his first races in a Saab Turbo.
I was just hoping that things should stay together, because those days we didn't know so much about the turbo and what you can do with the turbo and how important it was with running it with a good oil cooling system and things.
30 years later, and the car is still an attraction.
I have to drive it completely different, because in normal rally engine those days you was revving a little bit, but this engine was just, you have to look and where the boost was coming in and get it driving. So he was using the torque a lot more.
Saab, as well as other car manufacturers, use the old-timer Grand Prix to preserve their history. Porsche, one of the biggest names in German car making, is present with many classic cars starting in different races. What's known as the Porsche Village is a gathering place for fans from throughout Europe. Over 600 Porsches are lined up here, freshly polished for the visitors, of course.
For Porsche
Classic, the old-timer Grand Prix is the highlight of our event calendar, he tells us. One reason is that Porsche's roots are in motorsport, and that means we can bring them back here, but also because of the open atmosphere that's part of this event. We try to ensure that visitors have access to all areas and information when they're here. For car makers, the old-timer Grand Prix at the Nürburgring has become an important marketing opportunity. Over the 3 days, some 65,000 classic car lovers come to watch the event. Next year, organisers expect it will be just as popular.